Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prophecy Update Vlog number 2. I just want to encourage you, if you haven't checked out the first vlog, please go do that. And the reason that I recommend that is so if you didn't follow before, I really want you to see where we are in the stream of time. In that first vlog, I kind of walked through different prophecy timelines and where we are today, and the fact that we're living right at the very end of time. Because in this one, we're really going to go over a bunch of news article showing what is going on in the world in regards to the upcoming Sunday law, which we're right on the very edge of. So I highly recommend that you do that. But please go ahead and join me now. We're going to have a word of prayer, and then we're going to jump into just everything that's going on in the world to show you through some YouTube videos, a lot of news articles, and we'll just see how close we are to the upcoming Sunday law. All right, please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity that we have to come together and to talk about spiritual things and where we are in the stream of time. I pray that your words not be mine but yours, and I just pray that those that really need to hear this message will be able to hear it and to understand it. And thank you for the opportunity that we have to learn more about you while we still can. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump right in because we have a lot of information. So what I'm going to try to be doing here is breaking up the whole Sunday law update into small little sections. And what I'm trying to show there is all these little categories, if you will, are small components that make up the whole Sunday law picture. So as we go through each one of them, I'm going to be kind of explaining what it is and then showing some news clips or articles just proving that it's happening right now all around us. So the first thing I want to talk about is called the Great Reset. Many people may have not heard of it. It is something that is fairly new. I think it's kind of come around. At least it's been more in the news since the pandemic started. And overall, without going into the intricate details, I'm going to show you some really great articles and references if you really want to dive into it. But that's going to take you a lot of study. And so anyhow, what it is it's talking about globalism, bringing everybody together for the common good. And what the common good is it's just trying to get everybody on the same page. And what they mean by the same page is everyone needs to be on the same financial systems. Everyone needs to be doing the same thing as far as health is concerned, finances, all aspects of your life, including which days you worship, when you work, when you can't work, and those kind of things. So the Great Set is talking about tearing down everything that we have as a nation, individual nations. There's no longer going to be individualism, and everyone basically marches in tune to what the globalists, the world leaders, are saying that we should do. So that's kind of it at a high level, in a nutshell, if you will. But there's a number of really great articles and YouTube clips describing this much better than I would ever be able to. And the ones that I highly recommend are The Amazing Discoveries Africa. Once again, What's Up Prophet, an amazing series. And if you just go to their site, click on videos, type in The Great Reset, there's 3 videos right here that really go into depth explaining the intricacies of what it is, who the players are, what their goals are, and I even talking about kind of what some of their timelines are as well. We will have a few articles that explain a little bit of that, just briefly touching on it. So along those lines as well, you can go to adtv.watch, and there's a really cool podcast here talking about secret societies, and within that they're talking about the New World Order, which the Great Reset, the New World Order, globalism, the UN, their agendas, and all those things, even though they may be different players behind the scenes, they're all actually working together. And they have one goal in mind, and ultimately, that one goal is a Sunday law and having everybody worship on the same day. So, once again, these 3 videos here are excellent. This video here talking about James Corbett explaining the Great Reset. This is a little shorter video, and if you don't want to sit through hours and hours of videos, this kind of wraps it up nicely as well in a nutshell. And yeah, this one is pretty good as well. All right, now let's take a look at, there's this really nice article on WeForum, and this is talking about, WeForum is the World Economic Forum. So the Great Reset really has a lot to do with finances. So obviously the World Economic Forum, a big player there in finances. And what they're talking about is almost getting everybody back to zero debt, right? So they're offering, in many cases, will eliminate your debt, which sounds amazing, but of course we know that when anyone offers to do something that great, there's always a catch, right? And of course they don't say what the catch is, up front when you look at some of these things, but when you're looking at these things through the prophetic lenses, you can see what is coming down the road, and it's all about control, right? Everything that you see leading up to the Sunday law is about control. It's getting the mechanisms in the place to control people, and also it's getting your mind thinking along the lines that I'm just going to do what everyone or anyone tells me what to do, regardless of what the Bible has to say. So looking at this is saying the COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. There is good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 1930s. So here they're already preparing our minds, saying, oh wow, the economy is going down, it's going to crash. What is going to come along that we can replace it with? But while this outcome is likely, it's not unavoidable. So even here they're saying the outcome is likely. So I guess my question is, how do they know that this is likely? How do they already know that this is going to happen unless they've already planned for this to happen and they're going to make sure it happens, right? So to achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. From every country, from the United States to China, must participate. Must participate, and that's really strong language there. And every industry, from oil and gas to tech, must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. So, right, just looking at that, what's wrong with the way capitalism is going right now? Yes, I understand we do have very wealthy business people, some who didn't get there, by very ethical means, and of course there's people that cheat and lie and those kind of things. But overall, capitalism has worked wonderfully for America for a very long time. So why all of a sudden is there this big push to destroy the economy, to wipe it out, reset it, and to start all over, if it wasn't a mechanism to control our finances, right? So that's just a little bit about the Great Reset. Go back and watch those videos and you will learn tons of stuff in detail about that. All right, so that's great. The Great Reset is one of our categories in the bigger picture of how possibly the Sunday law will manifest. One component of it as a control mechanism with the Sunday law. All right, the next one is the UN 2030 agenda, right? Like I said, there's multiple different players, but they all have the same goals. So let's take a look here. Transforming our world, and this is the United Nations, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This agenda is a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. It also seeks to strengthen universal peace and larger freedom. We recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms and dimensions, including extreme poverty, is the greatest global challenge and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. So, yeah, these things sound great, including ending poverty, right? But we know that when we look at the Bible and the things that are going to be happening, they're going to say, yes, we're going to be able to end all these things. We're going to get the world into a perfect place. We don't need God. We don't need heaven, if you will, because we're going to make heaven here on earth. It's going to be wonderful. But we know that that's not the reality. This world is sick. It is dying. This world is not our long-term home. So, just looking at these things, we know that this is not going to be. So what they're trying to do is they're pledging 169 targets. It's a lot of things to try to achieve that goal, right? And if we look down here at the introduction here, they're showing that they're trying to accomplish all of these things, and they're setting their agenda goal to be completed by 2030, which is a really interesting date. If you go back and look at my first vlog, we kind of touched on a few times that if you look at God's great prophetic timeline, the 6,000 years roughly ends around the 2027, 2030, that mark in there, right? And once again, I'm not time setting or saying that's, when the world's going to end or when Jesus is coming, but it just shows that we're very, very close to the end. And when you look at a lot of, like with the Great Reset in their timelines, they talk about stuff ending in 2025, they talk about stuff ending in 2027, and here it's 2030. It's all happening within this really short period of time if you look at it. So to me, it just makes me kind of perk up and be like, I wonder what might be going on. So just quickly showing kind of some of the areas. I mean, they really have a huge agenda here. They are trying to accomplish a lot across everything: chemicals, climate, education, energy, finance. I know we've already talked about finance, health. Obviously, we're dealing with that. Industry. I mean, science. It just goes on and on. There's so many things, and I get it. If they could actually accomplish some of these things, to help violence against children, that would be wonderful. But it just makes you wonder, what is really the underlying goal with all of this? And the more you study this and read into it, it really has to look like it's about control. All right, so with that being said, globalism is just kind of all of these things rolled up into one. There's just so many articles coming out talking about world leaders are calling for more globalism. The 24 world leaders have signed a letter calling for globalism to combat future pandemics, citing the coronavirus outbreak as an opportunity to consign nationalism to the dustbin of history. There's this big push, when Trump was president, he really pushed to make, United States strong again. But now there's this counter push saying that, no, we need to give up our nationalism and all come together as a one world economy, a global nation, if you will. And you look at the people, the players here, you have UK Boris Johnson, Angela Merkel, the French president, and 21 other leaders, right? They're saying that nobody is safe until everyone is safe. And, global community. You see all these catchwords like, global and the common good, the greater community. It's trying to bring everybody under the same umbrella. All right, now you have Joe Biden here with his buddy here, the Pope. So Joe Biden is saying, hey, America is back, telling the world, right? Because Trump basically, in a lot of ways, tried to support America and pulled back from some of the world things, the Paris Agreement, and those kind of things. So this article is talking about, well, what does this mean now for U.S.-Vatican relations? Well, putting back on our prophecy glasses, we know that the United States will reach its hand across the Gulf to clasp their hand with the Vatican or the papal system, right? So when I see a headline like this, it really wakes you up. And we know that Biden is Catholic and claims to be Catholic there, so it makes you wonder what kind of agreements they have going on there. And just talking about here, it says that the Archbishop is not unfamiliar, of course, with the new president, and they were to discuss efforts to conclude an ambitious agreement on climate change in Paris last year, the fight against ISIS, the migration crisis in Europe, and other global issues. And then many of these global challenges remain. And in an interview with America on March 11, Archbishop Gallagher discussed what the Holy See hopes for from the new Biden administration at the national and international levels. So obviously the Vatican has very high hopes for what President Biden can hopefully bring America into. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming out of that in the future. All right, let's see what else the Vatican is up to. Oh, they're doing a coronavirus conference, and they're featuring Fauci, of course, Pope Francis, and Aerosmith. Wow, that's quite an interesting group. I'm not really sure what Aerosmith has to do with that, but a 3-day conference was planned. And also, it's interesting that the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna, they also joined the Cardinals, academics, and Aerosmith at the Vatican COVID-19 conference, where they talked about, of course, global health threats and how science, solidarity, there's another catchword, solidarity, and spirituality can address them. So it's interesting that Pope Francis is saying, oh, look, that our type of spirituality can cure anything that ails the world, whether it be COVID, whether it be financial, really anything. It seems like lately the Pope has an answer for everything. Yeah, as you'll go on, we'll see the Vatican here is once again another conference. This time, Chelsea Clinton is a part of that one. On the second day of an online Vatican conference on exploring the mind, the body, and the soul, Chelsea Clinton called for the regulation of anti-vaccine content on social media. Now, I just want to go on the record saying right here, I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything like that. I think everyone needs to do their own study and decide for themselves what path they want to go. And I also want to be very clear that if you do receive the vaccine, it is definitely not the mark of the beast, because as we know and have studied, the mark of the beast is clearly the Sunday law. But with that being said, there does seem to be a strong push for it and an agenda behind it, whatever that may be. But besides that, the point here being that take away, say the vaccine part, but basically they're trying to regulate free speech. And we've, of course, seen that with Twitter, with Facebook, with, of course, Trump getting banned from those platforms, and many others for just, speaking their mind. If it didn't go along with what the media says is stuff that you can talk about, you're going to get banned from those things. And if we scroll down here, she says, we've done work with a number of different religious communities to really help ensure that whoever is able to have a conversation is able to have that. Well, it doesn't really sound like that as long as they're having a conversation that goes along with what you're saying. And, she's saying that the vaccines are waiting for you, and whenever you're comfortable, we're going to keep reaching out. And, she's also talking about, further on down, she said, I personally very strongly believe there has to be more intensive and intentional and coordinated global regulation of the content on social media platforms. And, when I read that, it's just scary because, even things like what we're doing right now, talking about prophecy, talking about, the Bible and things like that, really it goes against, what you should be talking about nowadays. So the more and more, they talk about taking those things down, it really is scary. All right, so we've talked now about globalism and the Great Reset and all those mechanisms of these world leaders saying that we all need to come together for the greater good. Now, we already learned that the Great Reset had to do with the economy and currency, right? So, how are they going to be able to control, as we know, as part of the Sunday law, there's the buying and selling aspect of it. So think about it this way. If they can crash the economy, basically make the dollar worthless, and then say, we've now introduced a new and better system to replace that, but one that's digital, one that we can control and know exactly what you're spending it on, and we have the ability to instantaneously shut it off. And that is exactly what is going on if you look at what's going on in the digital world with digital currencies. So Russia could become the first country to make their entire currency digital. You've probably seen Bitcoin and all these digital currencies that are really popping up. And Russia is just one country that's talking about, they're saying that they could have their concept ready by summertime, right? So we've had these economies in place with their currencies for hundreds of years. And now all of a sudden, thanks to the pandemic, they're able to almost flip a switch, if you will, and implement this new type of digital currency. So it's not just Russia who has digital currencies. China is also a very big player. In this case, if China, and you can see here that they're already rolling out testing of this digital currency, it really could threaten the whole global economy, because right now, the dollar is kind of the standard of the world. But if this becomes the standard, it could devalue everything. And so they have already made progress in testing their digital currency. They've tried it near Shanghai. They've given out some free digital currency on their app, and they targeted 500,000 consumers to be able to use this digital wallet and to go out and make purchases. And they're getting discounts. They're incentivizing them to go use this digital currency instead of using their current money. So I don't think I have it on here, but I was reading some other articles about the United States is obviously very concerned about China doing this, considering how much money we owe China. And in fact, the United States is also working on their own digital currency as well. So we'll see a lot more to come there. All right, let's see. What's this one here? All right, so talking about, the pandemic has been really good as far as in terms of how these global leaders are using it. So in their mind, they say, right, never let a good pandemic go to waste or a good disaster. And they are definitely not planning on letting it go to waste. So what's more interesting is that driver's licenses in a lot of states, and I didn't even know this, are going digital. It seems like everything, right, is going digital. Pretty much all of your insurance cards are most likely digital, and a lot of things like that. So I guess in that regards, it makes sense. But, in and of itself, obviously I love technology, but the more things that you have that are not physical, it's really easy to remove, to shut down, to turn off. And you're almost, every time something else goes digital, you're giving up a little bit more control. So going back to hammering on this again, all of these things that you see is about control and about getting you to give up a little bit more of your freedoms, a little bit more of your rights, to follow what the government or the global community says that you have to do. And obviously, dealing with digital currencies and those things, there's nothing wrong in and of itself, but there has to be a mechanism in place to be able to control buying and selling and those kind of things. All right, so kind of reiterating, we talked about the Great Reset, globalism, now digital currency. What's another piece of the overall puzzle, right? Another control mechanism that they're planning on using. And a big one, I could show so many articles on this for the sake of time. I'm just going to hit on a few, but climate change, right? So it's like, I think of it either like this big pie, and there's each of these is a slice that make up the whole thing, or even like a jigsaw puzzle was probably more accurate because it's highly complex and very much interconnected. And each of these is just a piece in this giant puzzle, working towards the same end goal. So looking at this next article, can faith leaders shift public opinion towards climate action? And basically what this is saying is Earth Day, April 22, saw some world leaders, of course, including Joe Biden. They made very ambitious pledges to cut the greenhouse gas emissions and promote environmental sustainability. I mean, I just want to say, though, one thing. I think we definitely should, take care of our environment, right? God created the earth perfect originally. We are definitely destroying it with all the pollution and trash and those kind of things. But we know that sin is killing the planet. The planet is wearing out. It is tired. It's not our permanent home. So, yes, we should do things to, clean up trash and keep it nice as best we can. But as hard as they're pushing this agenda, it definitely is screaming that there's an underlying control mechanism there. When you read the words like, we do not have much time to act to save the planet, talking about leaders of the world's major religions have spoken out strongly in recent years. So they're saying now we need to get our religious leaders to do more to spur their followers into action, right? You have the United Nations once again, to avoid warming the planet beyond a dangerous level of 1.5 degrees. Once again, look at what date jumps out here, 2030. So we saw that date before. Once again, why are they choosing 2030, right? What's so magical about that year, where, they basically are saying, if we don't do anything by 2030, the whole climate is going to be so out of control. It's just going to, eradicate everybody. I'm not even sure. The world's in 2030 survey report. So, yeah, climate change. I'm not going to get into a debate on whether, it is or isn't changing. I mean, we know that just looking at prophecy, that there's going to be natural disasters increasing in frequency, right? As child labor, as child pains, the Bible talks about. And so, yeah, it's gonna look like the climate has gone crazy because, it's going to. But we know that God is directing all of it, and so we just have to look to Him, not look to try to be able to fix it ourselves. All right, so once again, John Kerry says the Earth has 9 years left. Well, once again, that brings us to 2030 to avert the worst consequences of climate crisis. There's no faking it on this one. They use the strong language like they know the future. They know the exact dates. They know the exact temperatures of what's going to destroy us, right? All right, high likelihood of human civilization coming to an end by 2050. Okay, whew. 2050, that gives us a little bit more time at least. So we had 2030 there, at least in this article, they're saying we have a little bit more time to at least 2050. So human civilization as we know it may have already entered its last decades. Well, I would definitely agree with that because, like I said, looking at where we are in the stream of time, I think we are living in the last decades. And I we agree, but I think for different reasons. And so it is interesting, though, that whether you look at it from a prophetic view or from a secular, scientific, climate change type of view, um, it seems like everyone is aware that something is going on, right? Things are changing, and the world is definitely wearing out. All right, so there was another piece of our puzzle, another category, and now let's go into health passports. So there is a lot of talk on these health passports, and once again, in and of itself, well, there may be some issues with health passports, but these are the perfect mechanisms to control your buying and selling, where you can go, what you can do, and all those kind of things. So the first one that came to the nation in New York was called the Excelsior Pass, I guess. And it was the nation's very first vaccine passport, and it came to the Big Apple. And it's an app that would allow New Yorkers to prove their vaccination status or the recent history of a negative COVID-19 test in order to gain entry to events and businesses. So here they're already showing that if you don't have this app and you either didn't follow whatever they say, then you're not going to be able to go to certain businesses and certain venues. But you can see how easy it would be if, once this is implemented, instead of saying, okay, well, now it's because you have to get vaccinated or have a negative test or something like that, they just change it to say, well, now you have to worship on Sunday. It's very easy because the technology is already rolled out and it's already in place, right? Once again, it's a control mechanism. We'll just go through some of these. Chicago is now offering a Vax Pass next month as an incentive to get people the vaccine. So they're saying, once again, if you get this and you're vaccinated, you're going to be able to do a lot more things, go to concerts and events, and have a little bit more freedom, right? All right, let's see what I got here. The EU also is working on a digital vaccination certificate by this summer. I know they're trying to use that to attract tourism, and I know that certain people aren't going to be allowed and haven't been allowed to go to Europe or travel if they weren't vaccinated because it was already required. So once again, another control mechanism. This is talking about in the UK, vaccine passports for shops. And this shops and restaurants could require customers to show their passport. So talking about, if you want to go eat even, you're going to have to abide by that. Talking about flying, obviously that makes sense. The United Airlines CEO says mandatory vaccines will become what most companies do. So, along with the passports, I've read a lot that the government is most likely not planning on making vaccines mandatory, but it's very much legal for businesses, private businesses, to do that. A lot of them already do it now with different shots. The flu shot. Schools do it with just vaccines in general. So why not, add this one, right? And there's nothing in and of itself necessarily wrong with it. Obviously, it's just very new and we don't know the long-term effects. But once again, it's just creating these technologies and mechanisms to control your movements and your buying and selling. And then, of course, Anthony Fauci saying we've got to get the entire world vaccinated. Also, American Airlines jumping on board, talking about the first passports for international travelers. And then Cyprus also getting a vaccine passport system. I mean, there's so many more. This is literally just a very small sampling of how much is out there right now along those lines. All right, so we talked about the health passports and how they're a control mechanism for, it can be buying and selling, places you go, events. I know Israel, theirs is allowing people to go to concerts, a lot of indoor gatherings, sporting events, those kind of things. So that leads us nicely into also the buying and selling. And in what ways could they control the buying and selling? Well, one thing that the Pope is trying to do, he reached out to the World Bank Group and also the International Monetary Fund. And these are extremely high up, extremely wealthy people that come together and try to figure out ways for the whole world to come together, work together financially. And this does kind of roll back to what we talked about with the Great Reset as well. But without reading the whole article, some of the things that they talked about in here, and some of the keywords when I read this article that jumped out to me that you'll see over and over again, and all these people that are pushing this use the same things over and over. Here's one right here: universal common good, right? When you see that, they're talking about everybody give up your uniqueness, give up your nationality, come together for the common good, right? There's social, political, and economic participation. So you have the social aspect of it. I know China has a social system where you get points for doing as they say and being good, if you will. So there's the social aspect, the political, economic participation, right? There's the global plan they talk about in there, global governance, financial and social solidarity. Finance is at the service of the common good. And so these are the words that the Pope is talking to all these world leaders, right? And what always strikes me is, why is the Pope pushing all these things so hard, right? Whenever I think of a religious leader, I should be thinking of them as pushing the love of God, right? And the love of Jesus, and talking about, his sacrifice for us and those kind of things. But anytime you see any headline or read anything about the Pope, it is all talking about political action, social action, the climate. He acts just like a politician rather than a religious leader. But what's scary about it is people look to him as their moral compass when he's really a politician. And that's just a really scary concept to me. All right, well, when I saw this article, I was quite shocked, because this is talking about big business gets its wings as leaders from major U.S. companies partner with Pope Francis. So I was like, wow, that's pretty big deal. And then I looked down here to see, what we're talking about, what kind of companies. And this is a council comprising 27 core members known as the Guardians of Inclusive Capitalism, who represent companies with over 2.1 trillion in market capitalization and 200 million workers. And these are the companies: Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Salesforce, MasterCard, and that's just to name a few of these massive companies. And it's the fact that different religions need to come together on all matters is just the crying need of the times of our world. So what in the world does the Pope, in talking about different religions coming together financially with Bank of America and MasterCard? It's just screaming that there is an agenda going on behind the scenes to cause everybody to be on the same financial market, the same financial footing, and have the same financial controls in place. And here they're even talking about environmental, social, and governance focused, right? And we basically almost read that exact same thing in his other article when he was talking to the global leaders on finance. So, if you people look around and say, man, these things, the Sunday law, it's such a long way off. It's not happening. I haven't seen a news article or anything that said, oh, Sunday law is here or Sunday law is in the works. And I don't think we ever are going to see that. I think it's all these little pieces that are coming together. I would even say behind the scenes, but it's right in your face if you just look for it. It's not even really behind the scenes. It's right here. And it's just all these pieces are going to come together and then boom, it's going to be here. But I don't think there's ever going to be a headline that reads, Sunday law is here, right? I think Satan's smarter than that. That would just be too obvious. But by pulling all these pieces together, you can see the picture that's very obviously painted before you. And that's really the goal of what these, vlogs are about. And hopefully that's coming across here. All right, so we've now talked about globalism, the Great Reset, digital currencies, climate change, health passports, buying and selling. The last section is all those pieces coming together for the implementation and the control of the actual Sunday law. So even though there's not one big headline of Sunday laws being in place, I'm going to show you a bunch of articles where Sunday is called the Sabbath, where Sunday is the day when you cannot buy or sell, where you have to have family rest, where you must set aside your activities. And we know that the United States will be foremost in leading the charge. But I think what we're seeing right now around the world, especially in Europe and other places, is they're already much further ahead of us in that regard. And I think, they're testing a lot of things out elsewhere before finally, when the United States does stand up and say, this is what we're doing, then it will go out globally, officially to all. Right now, it's just little bits here and there, countries, testing it out and those kind of things. It's very piecemeal. It's not a global coordinated effort yet. But I think these are just laying the little foundational pieces where we can get a glimpse of what eventually it could look like. All right, so let's go into the first article. All right, Baylor has an article here, Give Us Back Sunday. So this is a Baptist University student talking about, of course, their educational is founded on biblical principles. And one being the concept of the Sabbath on Sunday. Well, once again, it just boggles my mind on how you'll see in so many places they confuse the Sabbath with Sunday. And it's just really sad to see, because obviously the Bible is very clear on which day that, the seventh day is the Sabbath. And there's no place in the Bible where it was changed to Sunday. Jesus kept the Sabbath, the disciples kept the Sabbath. Meaning the seventh day. But, the Catholic Church has claimed to have changed it by her own authority from Saturday to Sunday. And the Protestant nations follow her by doing that as well. So she's saying here, though, that it doesn't mean we need Sunday as a day, or saying that we definitely do need Sunday as a day of rest and rejuvenation. So, here's just students now already saying, yes, bring back Sunday. We need Sunday rest. And as we know, based on the spirit of prophecy, that the groundswell ultimately is going to be coming from the people, right? The religious community. People are saying, wow, look what, when we did shut down during the pandemic, look at how green everything was. The pollution was down, the rivers were running more clean, and those kind of things. So these articles are going to show that push is already beginning. All right, the EU bishops call for nations to protect a work-free Sunday, right? So in this case, you'll see it going a few ways. A lot of times it's just so that you don't have to work. There's a lot of studies coming out that show that overwork is bad for your health, which is most likely true. But they're saying, to counter that, well, let's give everyone a day off on Sunday. Well, that's just great. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with having, obviously, a day off on Sunday. But if we study the spirit of prophecy, we can see that there's 3 phases. The first phase is just everybody take off Sunday, right? Everything's going to be closed. There's no work to do. The second phase is going to be, now you're going to actually have to work on Saturday, right? Which would violate the 4th commandment. When that doesn't work, then the last phase is finally now you have to worship on Sunday, right? Giving your allegiance to Satan instead of God, since God's seal is the 7th-day Sabbath and Satan's is the first day of the week, Sunday. But the first part, as you can see here, is talking about having just a work-free Sunday. All right. So Turkey is wanting all their malls closed on Sundays. So obviously that kind of does 2 parts. It gives you the day off because you can't go to the mall, and then also controls buying and selling. So Poland apparently already had a Sunday trading ban, but it's just expanding from when it started in 2020 and just keeps continuing to grow from there. So Poland is already well on its way. The Samoa PM wants to ban Sunday trading. The government is about to permanently ban all commercial activities on Sunday. So they're actually implementing a law to do that. The majority of Germans, they say their shops should also be closed on Sundays. Croatia is also heading towards a work-free Sunday. Now, in a lot of these cases, certain things like the exceptions would be newsstands, bakeries, gas stations, certain shops and railways, the important things like that. But once again, taking into account the balance between work, rest, and spending time with family. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's great. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But why do they keep choosing Sunday? You never see that they choose Saturday or they choose Wednesday or Friday for that matter. It's always on Sunday. So in this case, now the trade unions are getting involved, and we know that in the spirit of prophecy, the trade unions are going to be a huge push in Sunday legislation. So here they are already jumping on the bandwagon. Bring back the blue laws. So, in a lot of places, and there's, in fact, around where I live, the blue laws still on Sunday, certain things you can buy and not buy. So they actually exist still in a lot of places. But in this article, they really go into the fact that they want to bring them back more nationally and have pretty much everything non-essential closed on Sunday so that people can go to church and worship on Sunday. But once again, it's just showing that this ground movement, this groundswell is growing from beneath. Espinoza, he wants to also bring back the blue laws. I'm not sure where he's from for Cebu or Cebu City. I'm not sure where that's located, but once again, pushing to bring back the Sunday rest. Let's keep Sunday sacred. So this is shifting a little bit from, all right, well, let's just have Sunday off as a day to not work, to spend time with family, to we need to actually reverence Sunday and keep it sacred. It says here we have to have Sunday. It needs to be woven into the fabric of our society. So they're talking about a day of rest, but also that we need to keep it sacred. And once again, back to a rest day with the family. And these are coming from all over different countries, right? These are not just America. These are coming from all around the world. All right, in this case, a bill was actually passed. Sunday is one step closer to being concretized as the 12th public holiday recognized by the laws of Antigua and Barbuda. So, this case, they passed this bill 2019, actually, mandating Sunday, if you will, Sunday as a common law holiday. So, it's now recognized as a public holiday. Now, I don't know if that actually means they have to shut down and close. But it says this is not given to employees working on Sundays. So, yeah, once again, it's just protecting people who have previously had to work, giving them a day off and a chance to. In their mind, I'm sure they anticipate that they would go worship and go to church on Sunday. All right, so this was pretty interesting. Piggly Wiggly came out and said that they are beginning to close on Sundays in hopes of a great revival. They mention in here, talking about, they're even quoting the Bible, 6 days shall you gather, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath. Well, okay, they got that part right. There shall be none. And then they say, beginning May 2nd, Piggly Wiggly is going to close on Sunday. So it's kind of like, wait a minute. You got the right day, but then all of a sudden you change it to Sundays to, in this case, they specifically say to spend time worshiping God with their families and friends. And further down the article, of course, they mention like Chick-fil-A and other places like that are always closed on Sunday. But it's starting to look like more and more businesses are joining in that effort to be closed on Sundays. So, Sunday lockdown. If you followed the news, you'll notice that most of the COVID lockdowns that were happening were always on Sunday. And I kind of joke with people saying, oh, so the virus is only active on Sunday, not any other day of the week. But what's interesting, this is in India, and yet, once again, they chose Sunday. But in this case, if you're caught violating, in this case, the mask mandate, you're first fined 1,000 rupees, and then the second time 10,000 rupees, right? So they're actually putting pretty strict punishments on violating their Sunday laws and Sunday curfews. Once again, controlling the buying and selling on Sunday. All right, and this was saying that Sunday lockdown was a success. So once again, this kind of shows it was an experiment, right? They were trying out these Sunday lockdowns. They said, hey, it worked out good. We didn't have any issues. In this case, they're saying it helped out with the pandemic. But once again, why just one day a week and why on Sunday? Doesn't make sense to me. All right, I have 2 more YouTube videos here to show you guys. And I thought they were really interesting and spot on. And they are right in your face saying what their goals are, what their intentions are, and what is happening. And so let's just hop over to them. Just go ahead and listen to the video. They're not too long, but like a minute or 2 each. And I think it will really show you where we are, what things are happening, and what the push is, and really how close we are.
Hi, my name is Alix, and I'm policy advisor at COMECE, which is the Commission of the Bishops' Conference of the European Union. With the COVID-19 pandemic, many people are suffering from poverty and loneliness. This is why we need fraternity more than ever. we need to care for each other, for we are all members of one human family. This is why at COMECE we are committed to promote Sunday as a common weekly day of rest in the European Union, a day that gives time for family and spiritual life, a day to experience social friendship and fraternity.
Well, I don't think she could be any more clear than that. Like I said, the European Union has been really so much further ahead than the rest of the world as far as when it comes to Sunday rest. There's a lot of different organizations over there that are really pushing it. But like I said, we do know that the United States will be foremost in leading it globally and really getting it to spread across the world. But we can see little pieces happening all over. And I think these are templates that are definitely going to be reused. All right, the last one here is talking about Barbados and how they are implementing their Sunday law and the things they're going to be looking for and the kind of controls that they're going to have in place. So check this one out.
Will continue aggressively to go for it. They will. And the fish markets open back and other markets open back. We will have people at the markets there watching you and holding you to account and to literally comply with the protocols. With respect to the shops, we rely on you in the communities. We will have roving patrols, but we rely on you in the communities. And I've also said to them and responded to the Minister of Health, who has asked that we do not have commercial activity in supermarkets, hardware stores, or any stores on Sundays for now. And therefore, when these things open back up on the 1st of March, it will be business from Monday to Saturday, but there will be no commerce in the supermarkets on Sunday. We feel that the workers there and the persons who are monitoring, and I ask Bajans to think about the people who have to work as monitors, who have to work in enforcement, who have to work in the supermarkets. They're under pressure too. And let them have Sunday as the day of rest while we fight this out, and let us give Sunday as the time to be able to move forward.
Wow. She couldn't have said that any more plainly. They're going to have roving patrols. They're going to have people basically checking to make sure you're abiding by the policies of lockdowns on Sunday. The supermarkets, the workers, having the days off as well too. So yeah, that was just Barbados, but that's what's going to be coming everywhere, and even especially coming to the United States. So guys, when you see these things, know that it is near, even at the door. We can see what is going on. We know what's happening, and it really is here. So I just pray that everyone keeps their head up, keep looking forward, and staying aware. But most importantly, we know that we need to draw closer to God and to get our lives right with Him, because time is very short. So thank you for joining me for the second Prophecy Vlog update. I am continuing to gather more information and more news articles for the next one, and hopefully I'll have some good information to share at that time. But until then, I want to just show you my email address, prophecyupdate@yahoo.com. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, comments. If you found any really cool information that you want to share with me and I can include that in our next vlog, that would be great as well. But until then, let's just go ahead and bow our heads with prayer, and we will talk again next time. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for showing us all this wonderful information. We can clearly see the great picture that's painted before us, and we know that we are right on the edge of your soon return. But we know that there's going to be a period of time of tribulation that we're going to have to go through, but that we're only going to be able to make it with your help. I pray that everyone who's able to see this video commits themselves to you and draws closer to you. And it's not about knowing all this information. It's just helping us to be aware and know where we stand in the stream of time. But really what's important is getting ourselves deep into your word and drawing close to you, because that's the only thing that's going to sustain us through the troubling days ahead. Please be with us till next time. In Jesus' name, amen.